Okay, there we go. Now, this is a post that was made on Reddit a day or two ago, and it was kind of talking about the quality of pretty much where we're at right now. Okay, wrong thread? No, it's not. Remember the good times of player customization and non-RNG progression, where professions mattered and you felt like you played an RPG. And he's sending a link here, right, you can see, of the glyph system, the tier sets that you were able to get, and those are the Ulduar tier sets. Those were the original talent trees, and those were the epic gems you could buy with your badges. Remember that, Mcconnell?
Yep.
Oh, those were the days, man. It's less than that and more about how they're trying to tell the story. Old school WoW was kind of like a hunting safari. It dropped you in the middle of nowhere and it said, the game is over that way. Today, WoW is more like a theme park. Come along, heroes. Follow me down this beautiful trail. Oh no, what's that on our left? Why, it's the Iron Horde. Boy, they sure don't look like someone I'd want to mess with. Wait, oh no, they're readying their siege engines. Watch out, heroes. You better stop them before they power up. Now, the problem with theme park design is that you have to keep arms and legs inside the vehicle at all times. That's a really good line.
Yeah, that's why it got gilded.
Holy shit, that's a good line. That is a big line. Wow.
That's a huge line. There's a reason these things
Now
get
the
gilded.
problem with theme park design is that you have to keep your arms and legs inside the vehicle at all times.
Oh.
Holy fuck, dude. The metaphors there, off the charts. In the case of this game, it means that Blizzard has to take a lot of choice away from the player just out of necessity. They need to tell the player where to go, how to get there, and once they arrived, and that requires simplicity and predictability on the point of the design team. The upside of this is that they can tell incredible stories, write beautiful rides, and provide an amazing experience in that regard. This is often called the walled garden, a managed ecosystem. Managed ecosystems need to be small. But let's give them credit where credit is due. I don't think anyone is bitching about how Battle for Azeroth, Legion, or even WoD has been telling the stories. Confusing extremely, entertaining even more so. The downside is that by taking more control over our players, giving us prescribed path to get from A to B, from B to C, is that it gives players less control and less choice. People joke about fun detected, but there's some modicum of truth in that. Blizzard often solves their problems with a machete when all they needed was a scalpel. Think of how many specs were refantasized to fit the mold of Legion artifacts as an example. That's big. These restrictions have left many specs feeling broken and generic. Doesn't it feel these days like your prot warrior is identical to every other prot warrior on the server? A demo lock is a demo lock is a demo lock. Is also endangered species. Oh, you're a fire mage. Yeah, I know your rotation by heart. How many classes have combo points now? Build up 5 canoodles, then cash them all in on one big awesome spell.
Damn.
There's a lot of canoodles, man. Every class now has canoodles. Oh my god, this is terrible. It didn't always used to be this way. For those that are out of the loop on classic tactics or may have forgotten where they went away, back in the Wrath of Lich King days, talents took us back to peak absurdity. 5% to crit, half of your spirit counts as intellect, 10% chance of your laser blaster to proc laser blaster supreme. Increase the damage of your laser blaster by 5%, stuff like that, but all in a single talent point. They were flipping impossible to balance. And they were confusing for some players. But the open nature of talent trees meant that there was a lot of unpredictable hybrid specs that Blizzard had to manage on the fly. It was a problem. And Cataclysm. They sorted most of these problems out. They simplified talents, got rid of the extra uninteresting garbage, reworked the talent tree so that the player could only make a hybrid spec once they filled out their main tree, and had a good mix of boring stats and interesting skills. By and large, the player base actually seemed pretty okay with the changes. I wasn't. But we'd lost a lot of our hybrid specs, and core specs really shined. And that's another example of them pretty much forcing somebody down a certain path. TLDR. Old talents were not as confusing, complicated, or boring as you may have heard. They were predictable and dependable ways of empowering our character of how we saw fit. Want to do a min-max cookie-cutter build? Hit up Icy Veins. Want to do a fun situational build that would make a theory crafter throw up in his hat? Play around on the training dummies until you found something that you like. And no, not everyone used cookie-cutter builds. The person that tells you that everyone used cookie-cutter builds is probably one of the players who only used a cookie-cutter build themselves. That's partially true, but anybody that was like really serious is probably using the same stuff. There were always a couple of different options, though. When Mists of Pandaria rolled around and Blizzard decided to trash the updated classic talent trees in favor of something more streamlined and simple, Blizzard's explanation was that they didn't like players just simming those powerful talent combinations and picking those. They made the cookie cutter argument. The player base, meanwhile, had been paying attention to Blizzard bitching about how difficult it was balancing talent trees for years. It was my opinion, and the opinion of many others, that Blizzard simplified their talent system for their own benefit to make things easier on them. Now that would be fine if the players didn't lose anything in the process. If the replacement system had been an improvement over the older one, something that I'm still not convinced is the case. Now, let's talk about that. Do you agree with that, Mcconnell, or not?
I agree with the whole post.
Okay.
Start to finish.
In my opinion, I would rather have the old talent system than the new talent system, but I'm still okay with the new talent system. And I think that if anything, they should both exist simultaneously. That's how I feel. In WoD, Blizz doubled down on the simplification scheme, cutting spells away from every class and every spec in the game. This was again done in the name of streamlining and simplification. Many specs were simplified to the point of not being recognizable. My primary experience is with a mage, a class I've been playing since vanilla. Fire Mage has lost access to almost all spells in the Frost and Arcane trees. True. You can't even use Arcane Blast, or Arcane Explosion, yeah. I use this as an example, not because it was taken from my spec was any better or worse than any other spec in the game, but it's just the spec that I know best, that's all. Everybody lost something. Every class lost something. Don't believe me? Here's a list of all of them, okay? It'll be a fun trip down memory lane, I promise. It actually wouldn't be. We'll go down here. Then the Legion specs were further redefined. Spells further called, other spells redesigned, talents rearranged, and artifacts introduced. Of course, I don't need to tell you what happened to artifacts whenever Legion ended, or where the player base is now. It is my opinion that Blizzard's continued attempts to replace what they've removed is where the game is starting to run into problems. The changes they're making to the game are such a fundamental level that the repercussions can ripple out even into the newest content. The Legion's artifact had to take place of the lost talents and missing spells. Now Azerite has to take the place of lost talents, missing spells, and artifacts. The next expansion pack will have to make something take place of lost talents, missing spells, artifacts, and Azerite. It's a treadmill within a treadmill, and Blizzard has no idea how to get off of it. How many pieces... Jesus Christ. How many pieces can be replaced before it's not the same game anymore? Talents, spells, artifacts, Azerite, glyphs, and everything that we players see as a way of remaking our character in our own image have been pried up and replaced only to be pried up again and replaced again. The cycle is unsustainable, no matter how hard they may try to sustain it. Edit, if Asmongold reacts to this, I want to be in the screenshot. Hi, Mom. What's your name? I legitimately did not even see that. I want to say something right now. Maximum effort. That's what you put into this post.
Boom.
And it shows.
Boom.
Thank you so much for making this. It's something that we've needed to hear for a long time. It's something that we've wanted to hear for even longer. Thank you so much. The post is absolutely amazing.
Boys, go. Well, no, you can't tell them to upvote or anything.
No, don't do
It's
that.
like,
Yeah, brigading. I mean, it's already got a bunch of upvotes. Everybody knows it's a great post. We don't need to get any farther. I want to go to the two main points that I want to talk about in this post. The two biggest points. Now, the problem with theme park design is that you have to keep arms and legs inside the vehicle at all times. Now, what he's saying for that, what that metaphor means, is that players are not able to go outside of the predefined situations that Blizzard has created for them because that would completely mess up the game because it's a theme park MMO now, right? Like, there's no more sandbox aspects to it. There's less sandbox aspects to it. So, you're having fun the wrong way. If somebody likes farming one thing out, everything has to be completely equal. If there's anything that's a little bit farther ahead, a little bit better, everybody just does that and nothing else happens. And I understand Blizzard's in a weird position with that, but at the same time, they've got to do better than that. They just do. Link to the post, I want to read it later. Sure. Just give me 1 second. It's the first one right here. Yeah, you guys can read the post. And then the second thing that I want to talk about is this one right here. Right here. The changes they're making to the game are at such a fundamental level that the repercussions can ripple out even to the newest content. Legion's artifacts had to take the place of lost talents and mythic spells. Now Azerite has to take the place of lost talents and mythic spells, missing spells, and artifacts. The next expansion pack will have to make something take the place of lost talents, missing spells, artifacts, and Azerite. What he's saying is that they're creating more and more of these systems that you can't even do anything with. Like, that is the problem. And I don't really know, like, what they can do about that or not. So, I completely agree with everything in this thread. There is one thing that I don't necessarily, I don't necessarily agree with, is that the cookie cutter things and all of that. I'm pretty sure that most people, like, it's a matter of degree, right? Where 90% of your class is completely defined, but the last 10%, you have a huge window and a huge amount of things that you can change. Whereas before, 50% of your class was predefined, and the other 50% of the game you were completely able to change. And I think that's really what the difference is. Read the comment after that one. Okay. I used to be a nobody doing heroic things. Now I'm a hero doing nothing.
This hurts to read, man. Like, this hurts to read. Blizzard, what are you doing?
They're just so out of touch. It's sad. It's actually
It's embarrassing.
Sad. Well, more than embarrassing, it's actually sad. Like, the fact that they don't even understand this kind of stuff. Like, I really think that they don't understand it. And I don't know if they ever will. That's what's so fucked up about it to me, is that I don't know if they're ever going to come to a point where they're like, okay, this is, you know, like, what we've been doing is wrong, and we want to fix it and make it better. Like, do you really think that they're ever going to come to that point?
Of course not. Not until we get these cuck developers out of that whole company, man. Until they move on to something else. You know? Bring in the actual nerds. The people that spend, 20 hours a day actually playing the game. That know what's good and what's not. Get them as a developer, dude. Not these Ivy League, 10 plus years of making these shitty games. Oh, I've got experience. No, you don't. No, you don't. You make garbage. We're talking about WoW. We're talking about WoW.
They can make a good game, but they can't make people play it. That's what it is. They can't inspire a player to waste their life. That's what needs to happen. They can make a great game, but they can't make people play it. That's what it is. Okay, just a second. Let me open this back up. So what this guy's saying is completely fucking true. Like, 100%. Let me see if there's any other good posts on the forums. Let me scroll all the way down. Yeah, great post. 100% amazing post. WoW is basically an MMOG since there isn't much role-playing. What I hate most is that the implementation of Warforging, they're trying to fight a constant fight against you reaching a final or a best-in-slot state of gear on your character. This is it. Yo, dude, this guy is talking real shit.
Yes, he is.
This is real shit. This is what I've been saying. This is what I haven't fucking liked. This is it right here. Listen to this. I used to play the game to get my best in slot. Whenever Blizzard made it impossible for me to get my best in slot, I didn't play longer. I just stopped caring. Because I knew statistics. I know what the chances are. It's never going to happen. Why play a game that you can't win? I mean, really. It's like they are afraid of you reaching that point because they fear they can't deliver any other content besides gear to keep you interested in the game. I miss the times whenever I could look at available gear and check out what is best in slot for me, check where it comes from, then go nuts farming it over and over and over again until it drops and I feel like I'm one step closer to my character being the strongest that it can be. No worries of it being Warforged or Titanforged. No worries of it having the right traits. The RNG aspects should be if I get the drop from the boss or if not I can run it again. The RNG aspects shouldn't be if the item that drops has the right stats, item level, or, see, it should say and trait. This is real, dude.
Jesus.
This is honestly, like, see, this is the shit. Like, you know what I'm so happy about? I feel
what are
like
you happy about?
the fact that people are waking up.
Yes, I actually was just about to say that. We're on the same wavelength. You and me are on the same brain length, dude.
Thank you, Stabelot, for the augmenters. Yeah,
you hear me?
Yeah, I did. So what I was trying to say is like yeah. This is what I've been talking about ever since Mists of Pandaria. And back then, everybody was just like, oh, you just want to have the best gear. They want to have you playing longer. It's good, you know. Oh, Thunder Forging is okay. Oh, War Forging is okay. And then WoD comes out and like, oh, well, you know, sockets. And I mean, it doesn't really make that big of a difference. It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry about it, man. And then Legion comes out and like, oh, well, Titan Forging, I mean, you know, it gets people playing older content. It's good, you know. I mean, come on, man. Like casuals, it gets them to play the game. And, you know, it's all right. You're just being an elitist. And, you know, it's just, you know, Mythic Raiders are going to have better gear on average. It's okay if a casual player gets the best gear a couple of times. And I was fucking sick of it. And you guys know. And I kept fucking saying, I was like, I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. I hate this.
Yell it. Preach.
And you know what? People kept fucking pushing back. They kept saying no. They kept saying wrong. They kept calling me an elitist. They kept calling all this stuff. And now finally, Battle for Azeroth comes out. 5 fucking years later, people start to realize, open their fucking eyes, look in a goddamn mirror, and realize that they are a rat in a fucking cage. Why was it made by developers? It's made by Activision? That's a stupid... I don't think that's true. All right, well, let me just say that. I don't think that's true. I just don't.
I think... Listen, I think Activision drives the model, not the game, right? So
I would agree with that.
You agree? You understand? You understand what I'm saying, right?
I agree that Activision puts out certain benchmarks that Blizzard, in some form or another, have to meet. Right? Whether that's money, whether that's monthly active users, whether that's something, right? Because obviously they have some sort of oversight. So there has to be some way that they benchmark that. And I mean, if you've ever worked in a company, you know that there's benchmarks for everything. So the odds are, I think that a lot of the changes that they make are to meet those benchmarks. Activision doesn't control Blizzard. Activision owns Blizzard. And Activision creates... Does Activision own Blizzard?
Yes.
Because it's Activision Blizzard.
Bobby Kotick runs everything. And when I say runs everything, I mean ruins everything.
Let me look this up. Does Activision own Blizzard? Okay, so it's a little bit more complex than that. Merger with Vivendi in 2007. It was announced that Activision would merge with Vivendi Games, which own fellow game developers publisher Blizzard. And the merger would close in July of 2008. The new company was called Activision Blizzard, and it was headed by Activision's former CEO, Bobby Kotick. Right? Kotick. So, yes and no. It's a more complicated answer between yes and no. Right? Kotick. Well, let's just look at one thing here. So, let's look at these two dates. Something that's a little bit interesting here. So, they were bought in July of 2008. And a year and a half later, the Celestial Steed was released. Can
I get a couple?
Really makes you think.
Really activates those almonds.
Sure does. I don't know, man. Like, at a certain point, I stopped thinking coincidences are coincidences. Okay, like, I mean, I do think that Activision drives certain profit expectations, right? Or, you know, they drive certain profit expectations that were not innate to the game before the merger. I do think that's true. Pure coincidence. Yes, pure coincidence. Yeah, pure coincidence with the Illuminatis in chat. Of course. And so let me see what the rest of this is. If there's any other worthwhile post. The stats and entire gearing system was so much better. Multiple gems and gear pieces and chance on all types of gear, which is a much more fun system. Why can't we stand up to make WoW a true MMORPG again? If only the whole community could acquire 50% of their shares. That's what we need to do. We need to just get a donation goal to buy half of Blizzard.
That's never gonna happen.
And that's gonna be it.
You're talking about like $10 billion on a Kickstarter.
Yeah, that'd take a while. The board of both companies decides the decisions that the CEO makes. So go to the board. Most of them came from Activision. That's a big part of why Blizzard became so profit-driven in every aspect of the game. It's a cash cow. Well, the thing is that, like, obviously companies are trying to make money, right? I don't think anybody... And this is something that happens, right? Is whenever you talk about this, people are like... There are people that are like, they're not very smart or perceptive or anything. There's not really anything. They're like, well, if a company is doing something to make money, then it's good that the company is doing that because companies are supposed to make money. Obviously, companies are trying to make money. Obviously, that's okay. But at the same time, there comes a point where certain ways of making money become unethical and not good for the player base. And I think that's really what I'm talking about here.